Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. If you're tuning in, you might be carrying a pretty heavy weight on your shoulders right now regarding your child's social life. So for the next few minutes, I just want you to imagine you and I are sitting down together, maybe grabbing a warm cup of coffee, to talk through something that honestly worries almost every single family at some point. Today, we're unpacking a highly sensitive topic, drawing heavily on Dr. Omer Çelikkol's research on peer bullying. We're going to dive deep into the hidden side of exclusion. Specifically, we'll figure out how to tell when being not invited is just a normal, albeit painful, friendship boundary, and when it actually crosses the line into a dangerous pattern of power.
They save seats for everyone except me. Oh, man. Hearing those exact words come out of your child's mouth is just gut-wrenching, isn't it? As parents, our immediate mama or papa bear instinct just kicks right in. We want to fix it yesterday. We want to fight for them. We want to call the other parents or just march down to the school and demand they do something right this second. And listen, that protective fire, it is completely normal. The really frustrating problem, though, is that the situation is often so vague. Nobody explicitly threatened your child. There wasn't an obvious insult to point to. The group just moved. Or they stopped talking when your kid walked up. Or they quietly left them out of a group chat.
And this vagueness, it perfectly illustrates a crucial mindset pivot we need to make together. Usually, our very first instinct is to ask, wait, was my child invited? But I want to gently challenge you to reframe that entirely. We need to shift away from whether an invitation was issued and instead ask ourselves, how is exclusion being used here? We really need to figure out if this is just kids naturally growing apart, or if someone is deliberately wielding their social power to organize an exclusion and actively damage your child's ability to safely participate in their day.
To figure that out, we're going to look at part 1. Boundary or bullying, navigating the gray area.
Okay, so we really have to understand the critical difference between a private boundary and organized bullying. Let's just be totally honest for a second. Children are absolutely allowed to choose their close friends. They're allowed to have small, private gatherings or, just need some space after an argument. That is a private friendship boundary, and it's totally normal. Organized bullying, however, is an entirely different beast. That happens when kids weaponize shared spaces. It's when one child or a group repeatedly uses their social influence to dictate who gets to sit at a communal lunch table or who's allowed to speak in a class project chat, or when they intentionally block access to shared information. Having a private boundary is perfectly okay. Controlling a shared environment? Absolutely not. Now, this next point is absolutely crucial to keep in mind. Pain always deserves empathy, but pain alone does not determine the label. What I mean is, a child can feel deeply, profoundly hurt even when no actual bullying has occurred, like when a best friend slowly drifts away. It's heartbreaking, and we have to offer them total, unconditional empathy for that pain. But we absolutely need objective facts before we attach the heavy label of bullying. By the exact same token, we cannot let adults brush off a coordinated pattern of exclusion by simply saying, oh, kids are just choosing their friends. We have to know the difference.
Which brings us to our next section, well-meaning parent mistakes. And I say well-meaning with the deepest possible empathy because it's our fierce protective instincts that usually lead us straight into these very understandable errors.
Because these instincts are so incredibly common, we really need to look at their hidden risks. First up, we might try to force inclusion, demanding an invitation for our kid. But the hidden risk there? It just creates superficial compliance, or worse, deep resentment. Second, asking, well, why don't they like you? It sounds completely logical to our adult brains, but to a child it induces massive shame. All they hear is what is wrong with me. Third, forcing a face-to-face meeting or demanding an apology can actually be dangerous if there's a serious power imbalance. Your child might literally be terrified of retaliation. Fourth, trying to quickly fix things by just moving your child to a different lunch table or a new school entirely, actually, scratch that. All that does is teach the group that their bullying tactics work. And finally, if the drama is happening online, our immediate reflex is often to take the phone away. But doing that accidentally strips your child of their remaining social support, and it destroys the exact digital evidence the school might need to step in and help.
So instead of jumping to those quick fixes, we need to zoom out and broaden our view. We shouldn't just hyper-focus on the main aggressor. Social exclusion relies heavily on group power. It's like a giant puzzle, so we have to map out the audience and the bystanders. Who actually decides who's in and who's out? Who just quietly follows along to avoid becoming the next target? Who actually seems uncomfortable with what's going down? Has anyone tried to include your child before? And, super importantly, what adult is supposedly present when all this happens? Mapping this out reveals real opportunities for finding safe peer support.
Okay, let's move into our framework for figuring this out, the 5-part exclusion check. This is a highly logical, step-by-step strategy designed to replace our parental panic with absolute clarity.
Let me guide you step by step through how to evaluate what's really happening. Step 1. We look for specific actions. We have to replace vague, sweeping phrases like "they left me out" with exact words, specific times, and locations. Step 2. The setting. Is this happening at a private, invite-only sleepover, or out in a shared space like the school bus or a group project chat? Step 3. Access control. Does someone have a real power imbalance here, like unusual popularity or digital admin rights that they are specifically using to punish their peers? Step 4. We look for a pattern. Is there a high likelihood this exact same thing is going to happen again tomorrow? And finally, Step 5. What is the actual impact on participation? Is this directly affecting your child's ability to learn, eat lunch in peace, or simply exist safely at their school?
Now, to get those answers, we obviously have to talk to our kids. But please, for the love of everything, avoid the rapid-fire interrogations. As soon as we panic, they shut down. Instead, offer really calm, non-judgmental prompts to help them open up naturally. Try asking things like, what usually happens when you walk toward the group? Or who seems to be the one deciding who can join? And my absolute personal favorite, what would make tomorrow feel a little safer without making things more embarrassing for you? You just want to gather the facts without demanding they know everyone's exact motives. Honestly, if they just shrug and say, I don't know why they did it, that doesn't make their account any less important or true.
So, once you have those facts, what exactly do you do next? Let's talk about the 72-hour parent plan. This is your empowering, hyper-practical action plan for the immediate aftermath of your child coming to you. Here are the 5 crucial steps. First, take a breath and respond without panic. Tell them you are so glad they told you and promise you won't force a terrifying public confrontation. Second, write down observable details and be strict with yourself here. Separate the cold hard facts from your own emotional assumptions. Third, identify immediate supports. Find one safe adult on campus, one safe location at school, and figure out a discreet way for your child to signal for help. Fourth, contact the school using those behavior-based facts you wrote down. And fifth, agree with your child on brief daily check-ins, rather than constantly peppering them with anxious questions every 5 minutes. Let me tell you, separating the observable facts from your parental anxiety is exactly what allows the school to intervene effectively.
And when you do finally contact the school, you need to know what to actually ask for. Listen closely. Do not ask for forced apologies or compulsory friendship. We already know those don't work. Instead, you want to request a specific, named adult contact for your child. Ask for cross-setting supervision, because Exclusion loves to travel. It moves from the cafeteria to the hallway to the classroom to the online chats. Demand safe, unimpeded access to shared activities, and explicitly ask for a concrete plan to protect your child from retaliation. Remember, you're managing behavior and safety here, not trying to magically manage affection.
While the school does its part, you've got some homework too, the 7-day belonging plan. For 1 full week, I want you to track 2 things simultaneously. On one side, track the exclusion. Note where it occurs, who exactly is involved, and what the adults nearby do or don't do. But on the flip side, intentionally track connection. Take note of any safe peers, supportive adults, or positive activities your child engages in. Now, building connections doesn't magically replace the need to stop the bullying for sure, but it dramatically reduces that crushing feeling of isolation. It helps your child tangibly remember that one specific group's harsh judgment is not their entire social world.
And that brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. We absolutely cannot guarantee our children popularity. No parent can. But are we doing everything to protect them from the abuse of social power? By understanding the vital difference between a private boundary and organized bullying, by sidestepping those well-meaning quick-fix mistakes, and by fiercely advocating for safe access to shared spaces, you are actively empowering your child. You are protecting their dignity. You don't ever have to force affection, but you absolutely have the tools right now to demand safety. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you walk away from this feeling just a little more prepared and a whole lot more supported. You've got this.